Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lila Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and welcome to my Weekend Books Pride Edition. Happy Pride Month. I have plenty of books written by LGBTQ plus authors and about LGBTQ plus subject matters or characters, but that did not stop me one bit from racing out to the Barnes & Nobles to buy some new books to potentially read this Pride Month, but we'll see how that goes. The first book I want to tell you about, one of my favorite things is to read books about different cultures that I'm not intimately familiar with. And so I picked up, and I apologize, I'm going to butcher this author's name. I'm going to try not to. Blessings by Chipwebuka Ibe. This book is billed as a searing debut of self-acceptance, sexual awakening, and first love set in a Nigeria on the verge of criminalizing same-sex relationships. Obifuna has always been the black sheep of his family, sensitive where his father Anozi is pragmatic, a dancer where his brother Ikine is a natural athlete. But when Obifuna's father witnesses an intimate moment between his teenage son and another boy, his deepest fears are confirmed, and Obifuna is banished to boarding school. As he navigates his new school's strict hierarchy and unpredictable violence, Obifuna both finds and hides who he truly is. Back home, his mother, Uzo Amaka, must contend with the absence of her beloved son, her husband's cryptic reasons for sending him away, and the hard truths that they've all been hiding from. As Nigeria teeters on the brink of criminalizing same-sex relationships, Obifuna's identity becomes more dangerous than ever before, and the life he wants drifts further out of reach. Seems interesting. I really do look forward to reading this. Let's see. Again, I love reading something that is about a culture I'm not familiar with, and I've not ever been to Nigeria, so this will be an interesting experience. If you follow me, you know that I frequently watch videos by Greg at Supposedly Fun on YouTube, and I often end up purchasing some of his recommendations. One book that he's talked about, but I don't think he's read yet, is Tin Man by Sarah Winman. I just stumbled across this. I did not go into the store looking for this, or Blessings for that matter, but I stumbled across this, and I picked it up. I love the cover. It's beautiful. This is by Sarah Winman, if I didn't say that. I'm gonna have to put my glasses on for this one. This is almost a love story, but it's not as simple as that. Ellis and Michael are 12-year-old boys when they first become friends, and for a long time, it's just the two of them, cycling the streets of Oxford, teaching themselves how to swim, discovering poetry, and dodging the fists of overbearing fathers. And then one day, this closest of friendships grows into something more. Many years later, Ellis is married to Annie, and Michael is nowhere in sight, which leads to the question, what happened in the years in between? I've never read anything of Sarah Winman's before, but I think this might go up on the Read Soon in Pride Month, because this is intriguing. Yeah, that's gonna, I can't put it in a separate pile because I have not logged these into my book app yet. So I went into the Barnes & Noble for 3 books, one of which has been, I've been waffling about for months. And that one is In Memoriam by Alice Wynne. I have been on the nonfiction side, but peppering in a little fiction, books about World War I and World War II. This falls under the World War I category. It's 1914, and World War I is churning through young men on both sides of the fight. The front feels far away to Henry Gaunt, Sidney Elwood, and the rest of their classmates, safely ensconced in their idyllic boarding school in the English countryside. They are busy with Greek lessons, debate society, and playing witty pranks on one another. News of the heroic deaths of their friends only makes the war more exciting. Meanwhile, Gaunt has been consumed by a private dilemma, an infatuation with his best friend, the glamorous, charming Elwood, without a clue that Elwood is pining for him in return. Gaunt enlists, relieved to escape his overwhelming feelings for Elwood, but to Gaunt's horror, Elwood rushes to join him at the front, and the rest of their classmates soon follow. Now death surrounds them, often inches away, and no one knows who will be next. I am really looking forward to reading this. It's got mixed reviews, and I have some trepidation because I know, not firsthand, obviously, how horrific trench warfare was in World War I. So, I'm kind of, when will I read this? Not sure. Will I read it this month? Who knows? But now I have a copy, and I will read it, hopefully this year. Next up is not what I went in for, but I found one rom-com, buy one, get one 50, and I was looking for another. Couldn't find another adult rom-com, but I came across this in the YA section. I love YA, and it is The Summer of Bitter and Sweet by Jen Ferguson. It was a Stonewall Honor Book and a William C. Morris Debut Award finalist from the ALA. In this highly acclaimed, emotionally resonant novel, debut author Jen Ferguson serves up a powerful story about rage, secrets, and all the spectrums that make up a person, and the sweetness that can live alongside the bitterest truth. Lou has enough confusion in front of her this summer. She'll be working in her family's ice cream shack with her now ex-boyfriend, whose kisses never made her feel desire, only discomfort, and her former best friend, King, who is back in their Canadian prairie town after disappearing 3 years ago without a word. But when she gets a letter from her biological father, a man she hoped would stay behind bars for the rest of his life, Lou immediately knows that she cannot meet him, no matter how much he insists. While King's friendship makes Lou feel safer and warmer than she would have thought possible, when her family's business comes under threat, she soon realizes that she can't ignore her father forever. So, this looks interesting. I mean, obviously, they all look interesting. I keep saying that. I'm eager to see where this one takes us. I just read a book about toxic family relationships, so I'm looking forward to that. Next up is the rom-com that I picked up. It is The Ride of Her Life by Jennifer Dugan, another author I have never met. This is an enemies to lovers. I love that. I love all the rom-com tropes, most of the rom-com tropes. Molly is so... Oh shit, I started halfway in the middle. Anywho, Molly McDaniel's life is falling apart. Between her day job as a barista, her night job at a call center, and her crushing student loans, she's barely getting by. And that dream she has of starting a wedding event planning business, the dream that led to all those student loans in the first place, she can feel it slipping further and further out of reach every day. So the absolute last thing she needs is to discover she's inherited a rundown, struggling horse farm out of the blue, courtesy of her estranged late aunt. Molly is so ill-equipped to run the barn, it's laughable. She certainly doesn't have the money, time, or knowledge needed to save it, no matter how much faith everyone who loved her aunt has that she will. But the more Molly gets involved, the more she starts to wonder, maybe the barn is a blessing in disguise. If she can sell the land, the profits could be the small business seed money miracle she's been waiting for. So what if she's starting to love everyone in the mismatched family she's found here? Ooh, found family, I love that. Well, except Shani, the resident farrier and family friend, that's a tongue twister, who took care of Molly's aunt in her last days, judgmental, grouchy Shani, who refuses to give up on the barn, who walks around like she's so much better than Molly, who actually is really good with the horses, and kind of thoughtful, and obnoxiously hot, and unfailingly loyal. And suddenly, Shani has become an entirely different kind of problem, at one Molly can't possibly solve, not without risking her whole future, no matter how much her heart wishes she could. Okay, the next book I have been saying I'm not gonna get, and I got it, and I'll tell you why. It is Blackouts by Justin Torres. This is a National Book Award winner, and I thought I wasn't going to get it, but I was looking through, Goodreads has a large selection of books to consider for Pride Month, and when I first saw it in the store, I opened the cover and I saw this, and I'm like, not for me. But then I was looking through the online version on Barnes & Noble, and I saw that it has pictures, and then I decided, yes, I would get it. So, let me tell you what it's about, and again, I will need my glasses. Out in the desert, in a place called the Palace, a young man tends to a dying soul, someone he once knew briefly, but who has haunted the edges of his life, Juan Gay. Playful raconteur, child lost and found and lost, guardian of the institutionalized, Juan has a project to pass along, one built around a true artifact of a book, Sex Variants, a study of homosexual patterns and its devastating history. This book contains accounts collected in the early 20th century from queer subjects by a queer researcher, Jan Gay, had to check to make sure I wasn't misreading, whose groundbreaking work was then co-opted by a committee, her name buried. The voices of these subjects have been filtered, muted, but it is possible to hear them from within and beyond the text, which in Juan's tattered volumes has become redacted with black marker on nearly every page. As Juan waits for his end, he and the narrator recount for each other moments of joy and oblivion. They resurrect loves, lives, mothers, fathers, minor heroes. In telling their own stories and the story of the book, they resist the ravages of memory and time. The past is with us, beside us, ahead of us. What are we to create from its gaps and erasures? I guess some of the point is to read what's not blacked out and maybe try to read between the lines. I do look forward to reading this now. Will I get to it this month? I'm not sure. I don't like to call myself a mood reader. I'm more kind of a whim reader, or I don't know, maybe I am a mood reader. Okay. One of the books I know I'm going to read for Pride Month is The Guncle. Again, recommended by Greg over at Supposedly Fun. I just picked this, or I got this last week, and it seemed kind of silly to me, but I bought it and I said, oh, well, I'm not going to buy the sequel until I did. So I picked up The Guncle Abroad. In The Guncle, what I assume happens based on the back cover is that Patrick O'Hara's niece and nephew are orphaned, and he ends up having to take them in. We don't know how that ends yet. So the sequel is The Guncle Abroad by Stephen Rowley, and Patrick O'Hara is back. It's been 5 years since his summer as his niece and his nephew Grant's caretaker after their mother's passing. Okay, so this is some spoiler alert. The kids are home in Connecticut with their dad, and Patrick has relocated to New York to remain close by and relaunch his dormant acting career. After the run of his second successful sitcom comes to a close, another tongue twister, Patrick feels on top of the world, professionally. But some things have had to take a back seat. Looking down both barrels at 50, Patrick is single again after breaking things off with Emery, but at least he has a family to lean on, until that family needs again to lean on him. When Patrick's brother Greg announces he's getting remarried in Italy, Maisie and Grant are not thrilled. Patrick feels drawn to take the two of them back under his wing. As they travel through Europe on their way to the wedding, I was trying to internally think, is Patrick's brother the kid's dad? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, as they travel through Europe, Patrick tries his best to help them understand love, much as he once helped them comprehend grief. But when they arrive in Italy, Patrick is overextended managing a groom with cold feet, his sister Clara flirting with guests left and right, a growing rivalry with the kids, charming, soon-to-be Launt, which stands for lesbian aunt, and two moody young teens trying to adjust to a new normal, all culminating in a disastrous rehearsal dinner. Can Patrick save the day? Will teaching the kids about love help him repair his own love life? Can the change of scenery help Patrick to come to terms with finally growing up? Oh, just one more. Okay. I saw this the other day at another bookshop, and I was like, oh, I didn't get it. But then this was, I don't know if this was on Goodreads or not, but this is one of the three. The three that I went in to pick up was In Memoriam, Blackouts, and Exhibit by R.O. Kwon. I've never read anything by her before, and this is billed as an exhilarating, blazing hot novel about a woman caught between her desires and her life. I don't really need my glasses for this, but I might put them on. Nope. At a lavish party in the hills outside of San Francisco, Jin Han meets Lydia Young. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce Lydia, but that's what I'm going to go with. And nothing will ever be the same for either woman. A brilliant young photographer, Jen is at a crossroads in her work, in her marriage to her college love Philip, and in who she is and who she wants to be. Lydia is an alluring, injured, world-class ballerina on a hiatus from her ballet company under mysterious circumstances. Drawn to each other by their intense artistic drives, the two women talk all night. Cracked open, Jen finds herself telling Lydia about an old familial curse breaking a lifelong promise. She's been told if she doesn't keep the curse a secret, she risks losing everything. Death and ruin could lie ahead. As Jen and Lydia become more entangled, they realize that they share more than the ferocity of their ambition and begin to explore hidden desires. Something is ignited in Jen, her art, her body, and her sense of self irrevocably changed. But can she avoid the specter of the curse? Vivid, bold, powerful, and deeply moving, Exhibit asks, how brightly can you burn before you light your life on fire? This is getting read during Pride Month. Faux show. Anywho, that concludes the selections I bought just for this Pride Month. Will they be the ones that I read? I will definitely not read all of them this month. I've found if I go on a particular subject, like in April I did witches and I was going to read witchy all month long. After 2 weeks I kind of got burnt out and had to change it up. I imagine I'm not even going to try to just do straight Pride. I'm going to try to mix it up. Or maybe I am a whim reader, but definitely going to read The Guncle, definitely going to read Exhibit this month. I will see where it takes me, and I'll keep you posted. That's it for me. Happy Pride. Happy reading.